Hello everyone, my name is El Parnaso, and as you can see, my Snatchy and Capsiway are in the banish pile, because today I'm gonna show you to lose fear against Kewl, Crackle and Kewl Clip. So that is the template that we're going to work with today. What do we do if they banish our Snatchy and our Capsiyamiway in turn 0? So this is why I'm saying that, for example, the quality of having monsters Yami already in your hand have risen in comparison to the other metas, because now we can do shit like this if we have two Yamis regardless of the Kewl Crackle. So here, for example, we just go for Linkuribo, we special summon the other Yami name that we have, and we just go straight with with Lollipop Yamiway. Now, the reason why having two names is important is because now one Yami name don't become two Yami names anymore, because the Snatch is in the banish pile, right? So we need to generate two Yami monsters before the synchro, so the synchro can actually use its effect. You always need to remember that the effect on synchro summon needs to revive two Yamis and two Yamis only. You can revive one. Therefore, in order to make this effect and these kind of lines, you need to have two Yamis already, which is something that I really advise for any Yami version in this meta, to maximize the Yami monster names. Now, here, in order to keep playing, because yes, you can just revive the Linkuribo from the graveyard using any of the names, go straight with the SP Little Knight here, and you still have something good, right? Like you're getting rid of the Kewl Crackle, you have a pop, like you have two effects because you have two Yami names in your graveyard. Like the usefulness of the effects is going to depend of whatever the scenario, right? But you have two shits. And you have the banish of the SP Little Knight. So you can say that this is kind of something, and yeah, it's something, but thanks to not playing pure Yami, you can do shit like this instead. That also is going to get you to this kind of embor when you have one interruption and two sheets that can do something. But these two sheets that going to do something may be better in this other scenario, because instead of doing this, like we are going to keep the one that we put in the extra monster zone, we use the other two monsters, and we go for the Reproducus, which for some reason Konami decided to not ban, which is weird to me. Like here we use the effect, we make this a fiend, we go for the Requiem, and now the Requiem can go with the other part of our engine, the Fiendsmith shit. So we go for Lacrima, Lacrima will dump the Engraver. Here we just go for the usual, right? And here you can see that two Yami names can become something even better than what we just saw before, thanks to the Fiendsmiths. Because now we can just go, we can return these two, we go for the Lacrima. And here, this is very important, the Lacrima is going to recover the Engraver, because in this line we haven't used the Engraver yet. Therefore, this Engraver in hand means two monsters. And if we just special summon it, well, like, you know, technically it's going to still be two monsters, but without an extra light thing in the graveyard, which will be the Feebler Luri, which is an extra light thing monster in order to have follow-up for the next turn of ours. So also, this allows you to think different shit that you can do here, depending on what you prefer, right? Obviously, one of the obvious things that you will do here is the... Oh, wait. My ESP... Okay. So yeah, in this case, we didn't use the Spilirana yet. We use it here. We banish the Kewl Crackle. It's very important to banish the Kewl Crackle so they can mess with any extra body of level, with any extra body that they may have, because remember that they play Salen, so having a synchro level 5 already on the board helps them a lot to keep pushing with their Kewl names. It also helps a lot to make Kewl Meets a better monster and a starter from them, because now they already have a 5 level synchro on the field and a level 2 tuner, which means that they can go straight with the Salen after they do all the other plays too. So banish the monster. SP Little Knight on your end board is very important whenever you got hit by the Kewl Crackle. so you can avoid any kind of shenanigans. And here, now you go for the engraver. The engraver will add the track, and the track will send the lure. The lure will then make its effect. And now you all may be wondering why I didn't use the effect of Lacrima to make 1200, right? Because we actually need it. We need this extra light fiend, because now this is the only fiend light in the graveyard that can equip itself to something. The Requiem, we need to use it in order to make the Lacrima, right? So we don't have it anymore. And here we can turn this level 1 fiend into a level 6 fiend, which I know you technically didn't need, because you can go straight with the track and keep the Lacrima as your other level 6 fiend. But you didn't make SP Little Knight before doing that, and you know, anything can happen. So this is the option if you play Necroquip, but obviously you can make this without the Necroquip too, just keeping the Lacrima and making track first, so Luri and the sequence can make the SP Little Knight. Regardless of that, you still will have like the shit you need. In this case, we return this, it will be better. So, and here we will have your opponent with no monsters on the board, and you with 2 different lines of follow-up. You have the Fiendsmith follow-up, and because you didn't use any of the Sky Striker cards, you still have right here the enough monsters to make Camellia in your next turn. The disruption of SP implies that it's going to get banished, therefore it will get back. Therefore this is 1 monster already. All you need is your normal summon of whatever monster you have in order to go back to your Sky Striker things, will get you back to your Yami shit. And you still have also the engraver to keep playing. So these are still 3 disruptions, 2 ways of follow-up, and your opponent just wastes 2 cards in their hand, the Kewl Clip and the material for the Crackle. And you use only 2 cards too. So you can see how they will have 4 cards, you have 3 cards in your hand, and 3 disruptions. So mathematically you are still in a very good advantage, because besides of that you still have 2 different ways of follow-up too. Now let's say that you drew the scenario when you can leave this is the scenario when you draw a combination of, for some reason you have already your Fiendsmith shit. If you have your Fiendsmith shit, realistically talking, you don't know still about the Kewl Clip in their hand, right? Because that's a main phase effect. So you will start with this, and you just keep doing your shit. You make your Caesar, and after you make your Caesar, just do what I show you with your 2 Yami names, and you just go and generate the SP Little Knight with the Lollipop Capsyway on the field. And so you can see how drawing the combinations of Fiendsmith cards with the Yami cards is also helpful whenever you go against the Kewl deck. Now, that is, obviously this is kind of fantasy land, leaving these 3 after you got Kewl Crackle, 4 Capsyway and Snatchy. That only will work if you have like a Fiendsmith way to play and 2 Yami monster names. However, this only shows synergy of these cards and how they work, because even if you draw, for example, just the track, like if you just draw the track and you're going against the Kewl Crackle, and they banish these 2 again, you can just do the Fiendsmith lines that also can work with just 1 extender, like all the shit that we know, right? Like Fiendsmith track with normal Mulcharmy Fuwalos will end up still in the Caesar and the SP Little Knight, with the chance of SP Little Knight banishing the Crackle. Like, you all know this, I assume. So the thing that I wanted to show here is how this deck can actually keep playing regardless of the Kewl Clip. That is not an OTK against the deck. Look how we are putting ourselves in the worst scenario possible. The Clip randomly banish the Snatchy, and then our opponent banish or Capsy Yami way. And regardless of that, as long as we have cards to play the game, like 1 track and any Yami can make this, having these 2 vanishes. one Fiend Smith card and any monster with any effect can make this with the follow-up of Engraver in the graveyard and the follow-up of the Camellia still in your extra deck. Which means that any Yami with Fiend Smith still helps you to play, because one Fiend Smith card with one Yami card is still the same under this assumption, this scenario of Crackle banishing both Snatchy and Capsy Yami way, thanks to Clip randomly banishing one of these two, and then the Crackle purposely banishing the other, which still can get you to the same position in this scenario. You banishing the Crackle and making 3 disruptions with 2 different lines of follow-up. When you are building your deck like this, it means that you have still a lot of different combinations between all of your 17 starters under this specific interaction in the worst case possible, which means that your deck is still really consistent and synergy between them. Again, you can make this template with any Fiend Smith card and any Yami name. You can make this with any Fiend Smith card and any normal summon. You can make this Embor with any 2 Yami names that you draw. And in those 3 scenarios, you have 2 different ways of follow-up. Plus, if you have the Fiend Smith and 2 different Yamis, you have the plus of also leaving this, which without a Snatchy sounds like shit. But remember that all of your Yamis that you are reviving with this do something. If you have this in your graveyard, you will draw a card. If you have this in your graveyard, you will decrow some shit. If you have this in your graveyard, you will Fallen and the Virtuous one monster on the field. Even if you have this cheater, this cheater will give you the field spell that will get you another Yami if someone is somewhat destroyed by anything but battle. So you can see how this is still doing something in these cases that can actually help you, right? These 2 especially, the Cookie, the Lollipop, and well, you know, the Capsy can draw you a hand trap too, and can get you the bodies to protect you the other monsters, because you will have Linkuriboh in your graveyard. Therefore, you can tribute the Yamis that you are reviving with this after they did their plus to protect your other disruptions in the form of SP Little Knight and High Caesar. So, as you can see, there's a lot of shit that you can still do under this worst possible scenario. Now, just another thing that you need to have in mind is that, let's say that realistically talking, you draw like the Lollipop and Track, right? In that scenario, because of Kewl Clip being still in the main phase, you don't know that they have it, right? So obviously you're not going to make normal summon Lollipop and wait for for this specifically to happen, right? So what you're going to do before you know that is that you're going to go with the Track, right? So you go with the Track, you go here, and let's say that they do the Crackle, and because they saw this Lurie, you're going to say, oh, Parnaso, but what I'm going to do if they saw this and they banish not my, let's say they don't banish not my Snatchy, they banish by like the Clip, randomly banish the Capsy Yami way, and because they saw that, they then with the Crackle decide to banish my Requiem instead of the Snatchy, because they saw the Lurie, right? So in this case of different scenarios of shenanigans, you need to remember another synergy with the Fiend Smith cards. The Fiend Smith cards are also level 1 extenders, because at the end of the day, any or almost any Fiend Smith card will get you to the Lurie as a special summon. Therefore, the Lurie can just become a Linkuriboh. So what did they do if they decide to banish your Requiem when you start with your Fiend Smith shit? They all just decided to make your card a level 1 extender, with the risk that now you have either the Capsy Yami way or the Snatchy, which will change a lot of shit, because in this case, for example, that means that I can still get my Yami Snatchy circulation, which means that in our opponent's turn, we are still getting 2 things at least. The pop of the Akruki and the setting of the Cookie Yami way. Because we have a Snatchy, therefore we can make Synchro in their turn. which still are two very high quality disruptions when it comes to, for example, the Kewl matchup. Setting their monsters so they can use it from synchro, popping their initial normal summon so we can force them to make another summon. So those are still very high quality disruptions, right? And remember, the one that got derivably banished will come back. So if they decide to derivably banish the Requiem, you will have them for the next turn with Reprolocus shit or having any Fiancemate card. So all of those things or all of these scenarios is something that you need to consider. At the end of the day, if they banish your Requiem, this let me see, this where is the other ones? Okay, the other ones, okay, not this. I agree that, yeah, if they banish the Requiem, this is kind of shitty because it's a level 4, but from all your Fiancemate cards, with all the risk that implies to banish the Requiem, they are just making all of these 5 cards from seeds still useful, because this is even still Little Knight by itself. So it's still a disruption and a way to get rid of the Crackle. This is still a Linkuriboh. This is a Linkuriboh. This is a Linkuriboh with normal summon, which is fine because if we have other Yami, we still can special summon it and do all the shit with either Snatchy or Capsi Yami way, which will be a fucking lot, you know? So you can see how this deck is actually very taken care of the Kewl Crackle, because again, we are talking about scenarios when they banish both of our best cards in our extra deck. And we are still fine. We are still able of doing a lot of shit with a lot of different combinations of our starters that we play 17 of, which means that most likely we will have 2 of them in our hand, which means that Kewl Crackle almost always won't be as good as people imagine, even in this case scenario that we've been practice of Snatchy and Capsiway in the banish pile. So imagine all of the other scenarios when they have to decide on whether banish any of these 2 because the other card banish something else, like, I don't know, like Camellia, like who gives a shit? Like you get my point. If they, at that point, they need to decide between these 2, and these 2 are easily replaceable. Yami Capsiway is easily replaceable in the sense that if we focus our deck to have as many monsters Yami in there as we may available to have, we already most likely will have targets that we want to search with the Capsi Yami way. So we will be kind of fine. And if they take the Snatchy, they are risking the fact that we can still get to the Capsi Yami way in a lot of different ways, still have our Yami's monster circulation, and if we allow for the opponent to keep their Yami circulation, they will also have the Fiancemate just by that Yami circulation. So they are risking a lot in that scenario, right? When they have to banish just one of these 2. Because as you can see, even if they banish these 2, you can still play. And remember, you are not playing Yami Fiancemate to special summon Snatchy or to special summon Yami Capsiway or whatever the fuck you think you're doing. You're playing Yami Fiancemate for the same reason that you should play any other deck. To win. And nothing else. To win the duel. It's not to special summon Snatchy, it's not to special summon Capsiway. Who gives a shit about what you are summoning or not summoning? The thing is to win the duel. You're choosing your cards to win the duel. So as long as you can actually win a duel, you shouldn't give a fuck about the quality of the disruption of your opponent. All you need to think about is how you can make your deck to play around those disruptions. If you need to sacrifice thinking too much about Snatchy or Capsiway, then so be it. This deck never needed them anyways. That's the point that you need to make in your deck, to make your cards as less dependable as possible of other cards. And if we build the Yami in such a way that we respect those things in the actual meta, in the meta of today, I think that Yami is one of the best decks in the format. If you enjoy it, share it with your people, you know, give a like, leave a subscribe, help the channel grow, and I'll see you in another video. Bye bye.